Welcome back to the New Little Life channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Allison Tolman. I'm a nurse, an IBCLC, which is a lactation consultant, and a breast pump expert. And I help working moms pump fast and efficiently while at work so that they can breastfeed as long as they want to. Today, I would like to share with you 5 pumping strategies for working moms. I can't share everything that you need to know to be successful in a 10 to 15 minute YouTube video. That's why I developed an entire program to do that, and you can work with me and we can do this together, which is really, really cool. There's information down below if you'd like to join me there. But I do want to give you some of the biggest strategies that I'm seeing work for moms that I work with in my program to kind of just give you a head start or ease your mind a little bit or help you know where to get help. Okay, so here we go. The first one is get a good breast pump. And it's probably no surprise if you've been on this channel before. We have like hundreds of reviews on pumps and comparing them all together and stuff. I wish I could tell you what the perfect pump is, but it really just doesn't exist. And that is because all of you have kind of different needs, different goals, different work environments, different pumping, lifestyles and what you want to do with it. So it really just depends on what you're looking for and what you need to be successful, okay? There are a few bad pumps that I just don't recommend to anybody, but otherwise just getting a good double electric breast pump is what you're gonna need to go back to work. And from there, we can kind of decide which category of pump might be best for you. Maybe a wearable pump, maybe a desktop pump, a small portable one, maybe a combination of those, and then what's going to help you get to your goals successfully. Sometimes we have to trade off pros and cons for pros and cons of another pump. Does that make sense? So for instance, you'll learn this in the webinar that's listed down below. With wearable pumps, that might make or break your pumping experience. If you are a physician or a teacher or something, you cannot just step away to pump all the time. You might need a wearable option, even if it doesn't empty you quite as effectively as a regular standard tabletop pump. There's a lot of things that go into play, but if you're going to be skipping pumping sessions, maybe that's what we got to do. So finding a good pump, you can get a hospital style pump if you want. Those can be rented if you want. I don't always think they're necessary, but if you end up in the hospital longer than you anticipated or your baby's in the NICU, those are available for you too. Just make sure you have a good pump and check with your insurance. You can go through a DME company. They can check your insurance for you. Tons of links down below. Like everything I'm saying is down in the description. So go find all the links down there. So step number 1, get a good pump. Number 2 is to set realistic expectations. And there's a lot. The more I dive into this pumping and breastfeeding together world, the more I realize that it is not just plug and play. You can't just put a pump on and just expect everything to work out perfectly, right? And have all of this extra milk and a beautiful Pinterest-worthy freezer stash. It just doesn't happen that way, A couple sessions of power pumping is also not going to get you there. But again, we got to ask ourselves, why are we doing that? What's our actual goals and what's realistic? When you combine breastfeeding and pumping or nursing and pumping, whatever you want to call it, things look different than if you are just breastfeeding or just pumping. And that's the part that I love to help moms figure out what's realistic for you, and knowing what we know, what's going to be happening. So you can adjust that. I'm a just enougher. I only pump just enough milk for my baby. That might be super normal, right? And we talk about that a lot more in the program, but I think this is really, really important. You can have a textbook experience on the outside looking in, but how you feel about it, if you're having anxiety every single day about your milk supply, am I making enough? Why didn't I pump more during that session? That's not a great way to spend that year of your life. Right? After you go back from maternity leave, you got a lot of stuff to do. You got a job, you got expectations at home. You also have a baby now. You're also lactating. It's a lot. And I really don't want you to have daily anxiety over something that might be normal, right? So I think setting those realistic expectations is really, really important. Number 3 is not only having a pumping schedule, but sticking to a schedule. And I'm using the word schedule loosely, okay? Consistency is key, all right? It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be frequent, all right? So at some point, I have to tell moms sometimes, look, I can't do the work for you. If you're not going to pump, you're not going to keep making the amount of milk that you want, okay? But we also have to find that balance between science and practical, okay? We know how often we need to express milk to maintain our milk supply. We know how much roughly we need to get out. But what if we can't practically do that? Okay, what if your job is such that it is very difficult to stick to your schedule? How do we adjust from there? And there's a lot of different things that you can do to help mitigate some of the risks, but at some point we got to just like find a flow, a consistent flow, and stick to it. But again, this is where that really personalized piece of support can come into play. How do we know what we're doing? If you are a surgeon and you have to go in for a 5-hour case, how do we make that work around your schedule? You know, the next day you're with students because you're a teacher and you don't get a break from 8 to noon because your prep period's in the afternoon. How do we do that? And so I think really you can find a schedule anywhere. I'm sure I have it on one of my blog posts too. Like, here's a sample schedule, but what if that doesn't work? And this actually leads us really well into number 4, which is knowing who to ask for help. Who is in your corner to help you? I think other working moms and friends who have done this before, family, is a really good starting point. But you can only go so far there because their knowledge is a little bit limited to personal experiences, you know what I mean? But I think it's really important to have that support from someone who can really get it, who really understands where you are and what you're going through. Lactation consultants can also be a really good resource. Again, I've said this in other videos, but I'm a lactation consultant. I'm certified. We don't get trained in pumps and pumping. And we're working hard to change that so that more lactation consultants can help you, but they may be better suited to help with a lot of breastfeeding needs because that's what we're trained in. And so there are also social media accounts and stuff that have really good pumping tips and tricks and things like that, which I follow a lot of them too. And sometimes I'm like, that is a dynamite reel or whatever. And that's really cool. I'm going to share that, you know, but it can be hard to find answers to specific questions. Although, you know, I like to follow a bunch of people. It's really, really fun. But finding someone who you trust and you know understands what you're doing is really, really important. Again, this is why I built the program I built, because not only is it a step-by-step guide to give you the information you need so that you can hopefully figure this out on your own, but you have easy access to an expert, which is me, soon to be more experts as we bring more pumping experts and IBCLCs into our program. This is really important that you know who to ask when you have a question. And I've built my program so it is lifetime access once you join. I don't like it when you have to make a separate appointment and pay more and stuff for just a little appointment. It's just this question you need help with and then you can move on. So that's why we've built it the way that we have. It's a little investment up front, but then you have lifetime access and we're here to help you. Not only experts, but other working moms. So that's really, really cool. Anyway, number 4, know who to ask for help, whoever that is in your circles that can help you the best. And then number 5, this is like a big one, and that is to make sure that you're pumping correctly. I honestly cannot give you all of the ways to do that in this 15-minute YouTube video. I'm sorry, I wish I could. There's a lot that goes into pumping the right way, and the right way varies a little bit from mom to mom as well. So I realize that that's really frustrating. But in my experience, it has been the best to have a firm knowledge base of pumping and breastfeeding. How is this working together? I mean, you don't have to know everything. I know I've spent years trying to learn all of this and perfect it, and I'm still learning. There's still more information to be found. It's crazy. But having a really solid base of like, okay, I understand these concepts. Now, how do I make that work for me? What's realistic in my life? What things are going to make the biggest difference? There's a whole nother video on this channel about flange sizing that can make a really big difference. But how do we know if we're doing it right? You know, we see some different recommendations, especially now. I feel like everyone's changing their recommendations because we're all just trying to figure this out. But how do we know where to even start, or like, is it right? Because you can get milk pumping from a flange that's too big, but you will probably be leaving milk behind. It is not going to be as effective as it could be. You might have longer pumping times. And really our goal is you're working moms, right? You have to pump fast and efficiently. We got to get all the milk out that we need to, but we can't take 45 minutes to do it. So how do we combine that all together in a practical way that works and fits into your life as friction-free as possible. So pumping correctly, okay, again, I really wish I could give you everything right here, but that's why I built my program. And I would love to see you inside. If you're looking for that step-by-step guide and access to an expert, that's exactly what I do. But I hope that these 5 things have at least kind of helped give you an idea of some of the basics that you need to make this more effective. I've seen a lot of moms stumble through on their own and make it to the end, and some of them have done great, and some of them haven't hit their goals and end up feeling frustrated about it. Some of them do really well and still feel really frustrated, and that hurts my heart too, because we just need a little bit of expectation adjustment, you know? This is what I want to leave you with. As I've been doing this for quite a while now, I have learned that there is so much more to pumping than the logistics of putting a pump on. Pumping is an art. Somebody said that at a recent conference, and it really resonated with me. There is not one way to do this. There's a lot of ways, and we got to find the way that works best for you in your life. There are some concepts that are pretty universal, and we can tweak them to work best for you, but we got to know what those are first, and we got to make sure we're hitting all of the boxes, you know? A lot of it is mental and emotional and how you're feeling, and even just in your mind, reframing what is normal and what you should be expecting can make a huge difference. I've worked with a few moms in my program where their output actually stayed pretty similar, but the experience was a complete 180, right? All of a sudden they felt validated. Having an expert tell you, this is super normal, your output is fantastic, when they had been stressing about it for months, you know? And I think that's really the key. We have to find what's normal for us, for you specifically. And then to have an expert validate that can be a huge thing. I saw that a lot as a birth doula too. Sometimes you just needed someone sitting in your corner in case you needed them. And I loved doing that for families. And sometimes they did need me a lot, and sometimes they didn't need me very much. But having that peace of mind is huge. And so I want to leave you with that in this video, to just give you some peace of mind that you can do this, right? And you are not alone. There are a lot of working moms doing the same thing that you're doing, and I bet that you're doing a pretty good job. So if nothing else, give yourself a little bit of grace. Almost everyone that I work with and see here on YouTube is beating themselves up over something that they don't need to. You're putting in a lot of work, and you're doing probably a great job. If you want more help, I'm here. But otherwise, I hope this video at least was able to help give you a little bit of comfort, right? That's what I would like. So anyway, I'll put another video up here, probably this way, to watch next if you want. But otherwise, we would love to chat with you about joining our program. That link's in the description. Hopefully we'll hear from you soon. Bye.